June 14th, 1948, 2:30 p.m., Lenox Avenue and 132nd Street, Harlem. Bumpy Johnson walks out of Wells' restaurant after lunch. Suit pressed, shoes shined, fedora tilted just right. A man stands on the corner. White, mid-30s, wearing work clothes with red and white patches sewn on. KKK colors. In Harlem, broad daylight. The man sees Bumpy, smiles, walks straight toward him. Bumpy Johnson, the king of Harlem. Bumpy stops, looks at him. Do I know you? Name's Walter. Walter Simmons. I'm here to deliver a message. What message? Walter steps closer. So close that Bumpy can smell the whiskey on his breath. The message is this. Walter spits directly in Bumpy's face. Then he says the N-word. Loud, so everyone on the street can hear. Bumpy stands there, spit running down his cheek. 50 people on Lenox Avenue watch. Nobody moves. Nobody speaks. Because everyone knows what's about to happen. Bumpy Johnson doesn't let anyone disrespect him. Ever. But here's what happened next. Bumpy wiped his face with a handkerchief, looked at Walter Simmons, and walked away. No punches. No shots fired. No threats. He just walked away. Everyone watching was confused. Bumpy Johnson, the most feared man in Harlem, just got spit on and did nothing? What they didn't know was this. Bumpy Johnson wasn't letting it go. He was planning something worse. Something that would take 6 days. And when it was over, Walter Simmons would become a legend in New York. Not a good legend. A warning. June 14th, 1948. Let me show you what Bumpy Johnson did when someone disrespected him in front of all of Harlem. Bumpy walked back to his apartment. His wife, Mamie, was in the living room. She saw his face. What happened? Nothing. Bumpy, I've been married to you for 7 years. I know that look. What happened? Bumpy took off his hat. Sat down. A KKK member spit on me. On Lenox Avenue. In front of everyone. Mamie gasped. What did you do? Nothing. Nothing. I walked away. Mamie was silent for a moment. Why? Bumpy looked at her. Because if I killed him right there, it's just another dead racist. The police investigate. Maybe I go to prison. Maybe I don't. But it's messy. Public. Complicated. So what are you going to do? I'm going to make him disappear. Quietly. Permanently. In a way that sends a message to every KKK member in New York. Touch Harlem, and you vanish. How long will it take? A week. Maybe less. Bumpy picked up the phone. Dialed. Junie, it's Bumpy. I need you to find someone for me. Junie Bird met Bumpy at Small's Paradise that evening. Who am I looking for? White male. Mid-30s. Name's Walter Simmons. KKK member. Where's their colors? Was on Lenox Avenue this afternoon. What did he do? Bumpy's jaw tightened. He disrespected me. In public. Junie nodded. That was all he needed to know. You want him dead? Not yet. First, I want to know everything about him. Where he lives. Where he works. Who his friends are. His family. Everything. How much time do I have? 24 hours. Junie stood up. Consider it done. By the next morning, Junie had a complete file. He met Bumpy at Wells' restaurant. Walter Simmons. Age 36. Lives in a boarding house on 145th Street. Works at a meatpacking plant in Hell's Kitchen. 3 nights a week, he goes to KKK meetings in the Bronx. Family. None in New York. Parents dead. No wife. No kids. Perfect. What are you thinking? Bumpy smiled. I'm thinking Walter Simmons is about to have the worst week of his life. Bumpy's plan was simple. He wasn't going to kill Walter Simmons immediately. He was going to make Walter disappear slowly. So slowly that by the time anyone realized he was missing, it would be too late to find him. Day 2. Bumpy sent 2 men to follow Walter everywhere. Walter's schedule was predictable. Work. Home. KKK meetings. He walked the same route every day. Lenox Avenue to the subway. Subway to Hell's Kitchen. Day 3. Bumpy had his men talk to Walter's boss at the meatpacking plant. You got a guy named Walter Simmons working here. Yeah, why? He owes some people money. Gambling debts. You see him, tell him he needs to settle up. The boss looked nervous. How much does he owe? $500. That's a lot. Yeah, and if he doesn't pay, it's going to be a problem. For him, and for people who employ him. The boss understood the threat. I'll talk to him. That afternoon, The boss called Walter into his office. Walter, you got gambling debts? What? No. Some men came by asking about you. Said you owe $500. I don't gamble. I don't owe anyone anything. Well, they seem to think you do, and they weren't friendly about it. Walter's face went pale. What do they look like? Colored men. From Harlem. Walter knew immediately. Bumpy Johnson. Walter Simmons spent the next day looking over his shoulder. Everywhere he went, he felt like he was being watched. And he was. Bumpy had 4 men rotating surveillance. Day and night. Day 4. Walter went to his KKK meeting in the Bronx. He told the other members what happened. Bumpy Johnson is after me. So what? He's just AN. He's the most dangerous man in Harlem. He runs everything north of 110th Street. What did you do to piss him off? I might have disrespected him. Might have. I spit on him. On Lenox Avenue. In front of everyone. The room went silent. One of the older members, a man named Hank, stood up. You did what? I was making a statement. Showing him that the Klan doesn't fear. You're an idiot, Walter. You just signed your own death warrant. What do you mean? Bumpy Johnson doesn't forget. And he doesn't forgive. You're a dead man walking. The Klan will protect me. Hank laughed bitterly. The Klan operates in the South. In small towns. We have power there. But in New York? In Harlem? We're outnumbered 50-1. Nobody is going to protect you from Bumpy Johnson. Walter's hand was shaking. What should I do? Leave New York. Tonight. Go to Georgia. Or Alabama. Anywhere but here. I can't just leave. I have a job. A life. Then you have 6 days to live. Maybe less. Walter didn't leave New York. He convinced himself that Bumpy was bluffing. That nothing would happen. He was wrong. Day 5. Walter woke up to find a note slipped under his door. No words. Just a drawing. A coffin with his name on it. Walter threw up. He went to work. But he couldn't focus. Every colored man he saw, he thought was coming to kill him. Every shadow made him jump. At lunch, he went to a bar. Ordered a whiskey. Tried to calm his nerves. A man sat down next to him. Black man. Well-dressed. Friendly smile. You look nervous, friend. Walter didn't respond. You should be nervous. You spit on the wrong man. Walter stood up fast. Knocked over his drink. Who are you? The man just smiled. I'm nobody. But Bumpy Johnson says hello. Walter ran out of the bar. Went straight home. Locked the door. Closed all the windows. He was trapped. And he knew it. June 19th. 6 days after the incident. Walter Simmons left his boarding house at 6 a.m. He was going to the train station. Finally taking Hank's advice. Leaving New York. He walked down 145th Street. A car pulled up beside him. Black Cadillac. Engine running. The back door opened. Get in, Walter. Walter recognized the voice. Junie Bird. I don't want any trouble. Too late for that. Bumpy wants to talk to you. I'll apologize. I'll leave town. I'll never come back. Get in the car, Walter. Or we do this right here on the street. Walter looked around. No one else on the street. It was early. Dark. He got in the car. They drove for 20 minutes. To a warehouse on the docks. Empty. Abandoned. Bumpy Johnson was waiting inside. Walter was pushed into the warehouse. Bumpy sat on a crate. Smoking a cigarette. Calm. Hello, Walter. Mr. Johnson, I'm sorry. I was drunk. I didn't mean... You didn't mean to spit on me? In front of all of Harlem? In broad daylight. Walter was crying now. Please. I'll do anything. I'll leave New York. I'll never come back. Bumpy stood up. Walked toward Walter slowly. You know what you did, Walter? I disrespected you. No. You did something worse. What? You made me look weak. You made 50 people on Lenox Avenue think that Bumpy Johnson lets a KKK member spit on him and walk away. But you did walk away. Because I was planning this. Bumpy nodded to Junie. Junie grabbed Walter. Tied his hands behind his back. What are you going to do to me? Bumpy walked to a table. Picked up something. A branding iron. Shaped like the letter B. I'm going to make sure that everyone who sees you knows exactly who you disrespected. Walter's eyes went wide. No. Please. Hold him. What happened next in that warehouse is something I can't describe in detail. But here's what you need to know. Bumpy Johnson didn't kill Walter Simmons. He did something worse. He marked him. Permanently. So that everyone who ever saw Walter would know. This is what happens when you disrespect Bumpy Johnson. When it was over, Walter was unconscious. Bumpy looked at Junie. Take him to the hospital. Drop him at the emergency room. Don't let him see your face. That's it? We're letting him live. Yes, because Walter Simmons is more valuable to me alive than dead. How? Because every KKK member in New York is going to see what I did to him. And they're going to think twice before they ever step foot in Harlem again. June 19th, 11 p.m. A nurse at Harlem Hospital called the police. We have a patient. White male. Multiple injuries. He won't tell us his name. The police arrived. They found Walter Simmons in a hospital bed. Barely conscious. Traumatized. And marked. The letter B branded into his skin. One detective, an older Irish cop named O'Brien, looked at the mark. Jesus Christ. You know what this is? Yeah, this is Bumpy Johnson's signature. He's marking people now. We should investigate. O'Brien shook his head. Investigate what? You think this guy is going to testify? You think any judge in Manhattan is going to convict Bumpy Johnson based on the testimony of a KKK member? So we do nothing. We do nothing. And we hope this idiot learned his lesson. Walter Simmons never pressed charges. He left New York 2 days later. Never came back. Within a week, every gangster in New York knew what Bumpy did to Walter Simmons. The story spread like wildfire. Bumpy branded a KKK member. He marked him like cattle. Left him alive so everyone could see. The KKK meetings in the Bronx stopped mentioning Harlem. They stopped recruiting in Upper Manhattan. They stopped operating north of 110th Street. Because now everyone knew. Touch Harlem, and Bumpy Johnson will make you regret it. One Italian mobster, a man named Sal Genovese, was having dinner with his crew when he heard the story. Bumpy branded a guy. Yeah, with his initial. Big B right on his chest. Sal whistled low. That's cold. That's colder than killing him. Why? Because now that guy has to live with it. Every time he looks in the mirror, he sees Bumpy Johnson staring back at him. Everyone at the table nodded. That was the brilliance of what Bumpy did. He didn't just punish Walter Simmons. He made Walter Simmons a walking advertisement. A warning. Disrespect Bumpy Johnson, and you'll carry the scar forever. That night, Bumpy came home late. Mamie was waiting. Is it done? It's done. Did you kill him? No. Why not? Bumpy sat down. Took off his shoes. Because killing him would have made him a martyr. The KKK would have used his death to recruit more members. To justify more violence. So what did you do? I marked him. So that every person who sees him will know. He crossed the wrong man. And he's lucky to be alive. Mamie was silent for a moment. Do you think it worked? I know it worked. By tomorrow morning, every criminal in New York will know what I did. And they'll think twice before they test me again. What if they come after you for revenge? Bumpy smiled. Let them come. I've been preparing for that my whole life. Walter Simmons moved to Alabama, got a job in a factory, kept his head down, but he could never escape what happened. Every morning, he'd look in a mirror and see the brand. The letter B, a permanent reminder of June 14th, 1948. He tried to hide it, wore high-collar shirts, never went swimming. But people ask questions. What's that on your chest? Old injury. Looks like a brand. It's nothing, but it wasn't nothing. In 1952, 4 years after the incident, a reporter tracked Walter down. Mr. Simmons, is it true Bumpy Johnson branded you? No comment. People say you spit on him in Harlem. Is that true? Walter's hand shook. I said no comment. Do you regret it? Walter looked at the reporter with dead eyes. Every single day. The reporter published this story anyway. The man who crossed Bumpy Johnson. Where is he now? Walter lost his job. Had to move again. The brand followed him everywhere. In Harlem, people talked about that day for decades. You remember when that KKK guy spit on Bumpy? Yeah, Bumpy walked away like nothing happened. And then 6 days later, he disappeared. I heard Bumpy branded him. I heard worse. I heard Bumpy made him beg for his life. The stories got more elaborate over time. Some said Bumpy tortured Walter for days. Some said Walter lost fingers. Some said Walter went insane. The truth was simpler but just as effective. Bumpy marked Walter, let him go, and used him as a warning. One old-timer, a man named Solomon who worked at Wells' restaurant, told a young hustler this story in 1965. You want to know what real power looks like? Real power is what Bumpy did to that KKK guy. What did he do? He didn't kill him. He marked him, made him walk around for the rest of his life with Bumpy's initial on his chest. Every time that man looks in a mirror, he sees Bumpy Johnson staring back. That's cold. That's smart. You kill a man, people forget in a week. You mark a man, people remember forever. Let me tell you why Bumpy Johnson did what he did. It wasn't about revenge. It wasn't about cruelty. It was about control. Bumpy understood something that most gangsters didn't. Violence is temporary. Fear is permanent. When you kill someone, they're gone. The threat ends. But when you mark someone and let them live, they become a story. A cautionary tale. Every person who sees that mark asks, what happened? And when they hear the answer, they learn the lesson. Don't test Bumpy Johnson. In 1966, 2 years before Bumpy died, a journalist asked him about the incident. Mr. Johnson, did you really brand a KKK member in 1948? Bumpy smiled, but didn't answer directly. I don't discuss unverified stories. But people say a lot of things. What matters is the result. After June 1948, did the KKK ever bother Harlem again? No. Then I guess the story worked. Whether it's true or not, what happened to Walter Simmons sent ripples through the entire New York underworld. Italian mobsters, Irish gangs, other black crime families. Everyone got the message. Bumpy Johnson's Harlem was off limits. In 1950, Lucky Luciano was asked about Bumpy Johnson in an interview. Is Bumpy Johnson dangerous? Lucky laughed. Dangerous? Bumpy is the most dangerous man in New York. And you know why? Because he doesn't have to prove it. Everyone already knows. What makes him different? Most gangsters use violence as a first resort. Bumpy uses it as a last resort. But when he does use it, he makes sure you never forget. Are you afraid of him? Lucky paused. I respect him. There's a difference. I wouldn't cross him. And I wouldn't let my people cross him. Because Bumpy doesn't fight battles. He fights wars. And he always wins. Walter Simmons died in 1973. He was 61 years old. Liver failure. Years of drinking. He died alone in a boarding house in Birmingham, Alabama. No family. No friends. No funeral. When the landlord found his body, he also found something else. A journal. Walter had been writing in it for 25 years. Every entry said the same thing. June 14th, 1948. I spit on Bumpy Johnson. I should have walked away. I should have kept my mouth shut. I should have stayed in the South. But I didn't. And now I pay for it every day. The landlord threw the journal away. But before he did, he read one final entry. Dated June 14th, 1973. Exactly 25 years after the incident. Today is the anniversary. 25 years since I made the worst mistake of my life. I'm 61 years old. I've lived a quarter century with this mark. And every single day, I see his face. Bumpy Johnson, the man I disrespected. The man who taught me that some people you don't cross. Ever. Bumpy Johnson died in 1968. 5 years before Walter Simmons. But the story of what Bumpy did lived on. Even today, people in Harlem tell that story. You know Bumpy branded a KKK member? For real. For real. Guy spit on him. Bumpy waited 6 days. Then made him disappear. Did he kill him? Worse. He marked him. And let him live with it. That's the story that turned Bumpy Johnson from a gangster into a legend. Not because he was the most violent. Not because he killed the most people. But because he understood psychology. He understood fear. He understood that the best way to win a war is to make your enemy too afraid to fight. If Bumpy Johnson could talk to us today, here's what he'd say about June 14th, 1948. Walter Simmons thought he was making a statement. He thought spitting on me would make him a hero to the KKK, would prove that black men could be disrespected without consequence. But he was wrong, because I didn't react in the moment. I didn't let anger control me. I waited. I planned. And I made sure that his moment of disrespect became his lifetime of regret. That's the difference between a gangster and a strategist. Gangsters react. Strategists plan. And I'm always 3 steps ahead.